So Mandalorians, welcome back to a brand new Mandalorian review. Now this is for Chapter 5, Episode 5, and once again, thoroughly enjoyed this episode. Thoroughly enjoyed it. However, I'm seeing kind of mixed reactions, and this isn't the first time I've kind of spoke about this, in terms of how The Mandalorian, some people are saying that these self-contained, so to speak, episodes are kind of getting a bit boring, or just going too much off the beaten path, whereas for me, I'm just sat over here like, I'm just enjoying any kind of Star Wars tale that involves a Mandalorian going to Tatooine, which just leads him out to the Dune Sea of Tatooine. Like, honestly, for me, I kind of know and accept what this show is doing in terms of how they do have a few main plot-centric episodes, but then, like last episode, Chapter 4 and now Chapter 5, they've done a little separate thing that gives you a taste and different flavors of the Star Wars universe, and like this one was definitely that again. I think the ending, very ending scene set up something which we'll get to, but I'm trusting is to do with the main plot. But honestly, I don't mind it. Honestly, this show just has such a high quality production, and obviously I love just the premise of it anyway, it focusing on a Mandalorian. Of course, Baby Yoda is a plus, so as I'll just keep reiterating, going on a tale where he has to go to Mos Eisley Spaceport this episode, wander around there, get a little bit of work because he needs to repair his ship. Obviously that is filler, like most of this episode is filler, just kind of like last episode, but the way the Star Wars universe is doing this and offering fans new and old, like completely new takes, which we've never really seen done before. Because there hasn't really been a TV show done in live action like this. Obviously we've had animated stuff, whether that's Rebels or the Clone Wars and stuff like that give you different flavors and interactions and filler episodes offering other qualities to the Star Wars universe. But now in live action, honestly, you just don't see me complaining because I just lap it up. And to be honest, I do recognize how this just might be the hardcore Star Wars fan in me. I get how some people are thinking, okay, I want to get back to the main plot now. Why do you keep doing these little self-contained stories? Fair enough, last episode he took him to that village. Maybe that's where Baby Yoda could have stayed, blah, blah, blah. That turned into its own thing there. We met Cara Dune. This episode needed spaceship repairs, so they decided to focus a separate episode on him getting some money, running into a few familiar places in the Star Wars fandom, and then going out on that adventure. But I really appreciate that, but that could honestly just be the big Star Wars fan in me, but I just feel like this show does filler, if you will, at such a high value. It's not really filler to me, and to be honest, I would just take this any day. But when there's 8 episodes, maybe that's what's making some people think, come on, where's the main plot stuff, so I get that. But anyway, I know that was a bit of a longer kind of intro, but if you're enjoying these Mandalorian / Star Wars videos, guys, I would really appreciate it if you're enjoying this review and you've got to this point, to hit that like button, as it really does, as I just said, kind of show your support for the channel, share it with your Star Wars friends, but also, guys, subscribe for more Star Wars videos like this. But let's get into this episode, because as I said, as much as there wasn't main stuff going on, there's still plenty of stuff for us to talk about, because Mos Eisley Spaceport, never before have I seen a more wretched hide for scum and villainy. I probably butchered that quote, but that was just me paraphrasing it. But this brought back a lot of feels. I know we've been on a planet similar to Tatooine, but how many times can we say that in Star Wars? We've got Jakku and several other places, but finally we're actually on Tatooine, and we're actually at Mos Eisley Spaceport. And for me, this was just so great, and surprise, Dave Filoni directed this episode, so that's why there were little tidbits of Easter eggs here and there, because he's as big a fan as any of us, and he just happens to have the hand at directing, so of course we're gonna appreciate practically more or less everything in this episode. But also we had that dogfight at the beginning, which even led us to Mos Eisley Spaceport, because his ship was getting damaged. I love how the guy used his line, I can either bring you in cold or bring you in warm, and he's just like, that's my line. Did a little reverse trick and shot him. Very good introduction to the episode, which naturally led him to get some repairs on the Razor Crest, which introduced the pit droids again, which was quite interesting to see. I feel like I haven't seen pit droids in forever, so it was just quite funny with the Mandalorian typically not really liking droids. They were very scared of him. I really liked the character of Peli Motto. Motto. That was the lady's name who was fixing his ship. She had to look after Baby Yoda this episode. that turned into a nice little thing. Typically, you know, we've come to expect what will come from Baby Yoda episode to episode now, and he didn't disappoint. He didn't peak as much in this episode as he did last episode, but naturally, it goes without saying, any Baby Yoda stuff this episode, you know what I'm going to say about it. Great, love it. Another thing that I just keep echoing throughout these Mandalorian reviews is that, you know, it's just interesting seeing the Star Wars universe, not only in this lawless time, but just post-Empire. So when he was going around Mos Eisley, it was just interesting seeing a Mos Eisley that wasn't, you know, controlled by the Empire to the point where they even had stormtrooper helmets on pikes. And we even saw the Mos Eisley Cantina, which is ironically, you know, run by a droid behind a bar, whereas before in episode 4 where we saw that, it's like no droids, but now, you know, either way, it looked a little bit dead in there. It looked a little bit different, but samey at the same time. But, you know, I think all of us were fanboying out with little references like this in the episode. And even Toro Calican, who offered the Mandalorian some work, I believe he was sat in the booth where Han Solo did shoot Greedo first. I'll have you know. And I think the reason why I liked his character a lot, even though he wasn't doing anything absolutely extravagant, is because he was the perfect example of kind of like this greasy kind of smuggler, like, or just lone wanderer in the Star Wars universe. I mean, he did have a motivation to join the Bounty Hunter Guild, which is why he offered the Mandalorian some work, all the money just so he could help him get that bounty, which would hopefully give him enough reputation to get into the guild. So it was like a win-win situation for them both. But his character was kind of just that typical smuggler, self-serving, you know, how kind of Han was coming across at first in episode 4 kind of guy. Seemed nice enough, but when he found out that the Mandalorian was worth more from the actual bounty herself in this episode, he was very quick to just turn on the Mandalorian and get his reputation to legendary levels, because also in this episode it was teased to the Mandalorian himself from the bounty they were going after of the massive firefight that went down in Navarro, because obviously she had heard about all the Mandalorians fighting off against the guild, and she was just kind of rubbing it in his face saying, well, you seem to get off easy, and he knows exactly what happened there. So, you know, word of that massive firefight with all the Mandalorians has reached far and wide now, to the point of where, you know, even at the beginning of the episode where that firefight was happening, you could argue that that bounty was after the child still, because that's just going to kind of keep popping up. You're going to have constant members from the guild probably still going after the child, and we know that the Mandalorian is protecting him now. But you could argue that there's obviously just a fat bounty on the Mandalorian himself now. But anyway, the bounty they were after was for Fennec Shand, an assassin, and she's been on the run ever since the New Republic put her employers, I'm guessing the Empire, in lockdown. So she's an elite mercenary, and she made a name for herself killing the top crime syndicates, including the Hutts, which was a very, very intriguing information drop there. But also, just with that tease at the ending, I believe her employer could be Giancarlo Esposito's character, who you're probably seeing on screen right now. I mean, I could be wrong. We didn't get a good look at who was kneeling down by the body at the very end of the episode, but I'm thinking that given what we know about her from what Toro said, it could be a cool way for his character to get introduced, because we have still yet to see that. We've only got a few more episodes left, but he could also be introduced another way, because he may very well want to go after the child, and from what we know from the trailers, he seems to be in command of Death Troopers, so I just can't wait to meet his character. So yeah, let me know who you thought that was, kneeling down beside Fennec Shand's body at the very end. But I feel like I can just keep complimenting this episode again and again for just how much I appreciate, as much as some people don't, how this episode went about handling just its content. Does that make any sense? Like, I know some people just want the direct plot, but anything from when they got on the swoop bikes, headed out to the Dune Sea, where they went after Fennec, all of this stuff is just eye candy to me. I could watch side filler content from The Mandalorian doing various things like this for absolutely ever, and honestly, I haven't seen or been, well, it's not like myself, but to the Dune Sea since like I was playing Knights of the Old Republic back in the day. This is years and years and years and years ago. And also, guys, I don't think I've ever seen anyone in any like of the material I've come across. I could be wrong yet again. I'll hold my hands up if I am, but literally negotiate with Tusken Raiders. Like, wait, what? They can be negotiated with instead of the typical attack first and then just, I guess, scream later that they do. Yeah, that was very funny, how he handed over Toro's brand new binoculars to the Tusken Raiders, which they will appreciate because half the time they do look through stuff like that. I feel like most scenes they've been in, they like do some kind of zoom in of the equipment that they have. And also at the same time, this episode with Toro Calican's character, it felt like he was just going on a ride along in, as he was like a police rookie almost, and the Mandalorian was a long time. It's like he was taking him on a drive along just for some experience, because the whole time, probably thinking to yourself like I did, like if this guy actually went after his own bounty, of a fairly difficult bounty like, Fennec Shand was, by himself, like without the Mandalorian, he would be absolutely toast. Because if you think about it, at several points in this episode, he's such a rookie. He would, yeah, I don't see him really lasting in the guild. Like, he would be one of those bounty hunters who just more or less dies straight away, going after Baby Yoda. Because as we know, so many people, so many bounty hunters from the guild did not survive that. But along the way, he gave him lots of tips and stuff, because as we know, the Mandalorian is a badass Mandalorian. So I appreciated that side of the episode. But yet again, it kind of added in the typical character traits of a self-serving kind of swashbuckling guy that Toro Calican is, which is when, as we've kind of already been over, he quickly turned around the whole thing on the Mandalorian, even went after Peli Motto, who was babysitting Baby Yoda. But yet again, this really wasn't much of an intimidating situation for the Mandalorian, because that's when he got out those flashbangy kind of things and completely outsmarted him. So yeah, like it's kind of a shame that he had to go that way. He was typically that kind of rookie character who was just really wanting to make a name for himself, which is just very Star Warsy. I feel like you don't see a whole bunch of it in the movies and stuff, but if you kind of go into other media and other material, or just whether it's video game stuff, and explore different characters, it's very much so a typical kind of person you would find out and about there. But there isn't really much else to say about this episode apart from landing on Mos Eisley, getting his Razor Crest fixed, getting it refueled, getting some money to even pay to do that. That was basically the episode. I know Baby Yoda was at danger for a couple of seconds, but he turned out to be fine, and now they're off again. And then we got that little tease at the end of the episode that somebody was looking into Fennec Shand's death. And as I said, the fact that she was on the run from the New Republic ever since they put her employees in lockdown, it kind of does make me hope that this would be the introduction of Giancarlo Esposito's character. But regardless, guys, I loved this episode. I enjoyed it more than last episode. I really liked last episode, but I feel like this one was a bit more up my street, because even though that one was similar in terms of filler content, if you will, like this one, I prefer the more of the hustle we went on this episode, going to Mos Eisley Spaceport, revisiting some really nostalgic areas like the cantina and parts like that, going after a bounty with like another rookie guild member, and how that kind of all turned out. It was much more, I feel like, my kind of vibe from the Mandalorian, rather than the village protecting one, even though I really appreciated that episode as well. This was just great, but I trust that we will be getting to the main plot again next episode. He's been kind of, docking down on a couple of different places with the Razor Crest now, that to the point where I think he will be getting into the next main chunk of the story, which will definitely have to happen, you would at least think soon, because we've only got, it's episode 5 of The Mandalorian, and we've got 8 chapters, if you will. So yeah, looking forward to when he gets his jetpack. I would love to know what you guys thought of this episode. Did you pick up anything that I may have missed? That of course we had the Mos Eisley Spaceport. We had the booth that Han was sat in. I believe they were in Docking Bay 35, but the one in Star Wars that the Falcon was in was Docking Bay 94. So I don't think I missed anything there. Other little Easter eggs, I'm sure there was one or two maybe I missed out on, but I believe those were the main ones. Definitely let me know all of your thoughts, all of your theories, and I guess most importantly, who you thought that was at the very ending of the episode. If you guys are enjoying these Star Wars Mandalorian videos, please leave a like on it, as it really does show your support for the channel. Subscribe to never miss out on a single upload. Make sure you have the notification button turned on. Check out my last couple of videos appearing here. You can join my Discord server to talk about the Mandalorian with me directly, completely outside YouTube. I'm very active in there, so it'd be great to see more Mandalorians there. But thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and may the Force be with you always. Goodbye.